Welcome back to, well, not back to anything, actually. But whatever. This is The Punisher, One Last Kill, Marvel Television special presentation. It's 45 minutes. I don't know what we're doing here. Will it help explain what happened to him during Daredevil? Because his absence was, I don't want to say missed, but it was like, it was glaring. You know, I think explaining why he wasn't part of the conversation at all would be helpful. They just kind of waved it away in one of the episodes. They're like, if Frank was trapped, if he was still captured, you know, Fisk would do something with him. He would kill him. And then if he was dead, Fisk would, like, you know, parade his body around. So, like, where is he? And they said, he's doing Frank shit. So I need to see what Frank shit is, because like I said, I'm not necessarily I needed him in the show, but like that ending really pissed me off. And I think honestly, if Frank was there, maybe maybe something could have happened. Anyways, let's get into this and see what happens. Of course, mother. Sir. Okay, you can't be if you're trying to be like under the radar, you can't be hooting and hollering like you are. Like, I get it's probably, you know, obviously he's bleeding, so like obviously it's a very difficult thing he's doing, but it's also like bruh. What are we doing? Let me try to be positive. Let me try to go into this with an open mind. Did they just throw the dog in front of the car? I missed that.
Nothing left to do. Poor Frank.
They should have had Billy. I know he's dead, but like, if he's going crazy anyways and like reverting back to his old Marine days, I think Billy's Spectre should be here. Ah! I don't know why I thought he was gonna stab inward, not just cut the Marine tat. I don't know if this right now, like the I don't want to say the graphics kicked up, but like all of a sudden looks more defined. Because so far the pacing is really strange to me. Like, I get it's a special, so I really don't know what to expect, but it feels more like, okay, this is an episode, you know, this is like a first episode, so they're kind of establishing the world. I feel like we need, things are happening, but like, I feel like we need to get to the point sooner rather than later. It feels more establishing than I would expect. Also, where the fuck are, like, are we in New York? Hello? There's no way this is Daredevil's New York. Hello? Oh. That was a 0 to 100 quick for me.
Oh, I see you on your sad sack bullshit.
I like having Curtis back, or the actor, obviously, but I do feel like Billy should be haunting him more, I feel like. You know, this Curtis is very antagonistic in his head. Whereas I feel like, you know, everything that Billy has done to him, I feel like it would make more sense. You know, he was a Marine with him too, all that shit. But like, you know, he's evil. Man, what is, like, I knew immediately, I'm like, okay, she's like probably the wife of the mob. But it's like, what are we doing here? Ow.
Doing the punishing now.
This is so, I don't know. Again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just cursed to think this way. Oops, I fucked up the camera. But like, I do like some of this shit, and then the other half of me is like, this is stupid. I think I like that it feels comic booky. Like this. I don't think I have enough time during this ad break here, but I want to talk about this at the end for sure. Like, I do like how insular this feels, but on the flip side, it's it's so insular. You can't just ignore it. You can't ignore the events of what happened with Daredevil. Or like, you know, does it take place before Daredevil even happened? You know, like before any of that shit, before season 1 of Born Again. You know, when is this? Is this just some other, like, if it's just a side story of like, hey, a day in the life of Frank, fine. That's what feels comic booky about it, because, you know, they have one shots like that. You know, it's just like one last kill, whatever. Pick it up at your comic book store, right? But the problem with this as a medium, as a TV thing, movies, TV shows, the MCU in general, is that you're building to something. That's sort of the whole premise, is like you keep building to something new. I think comic books as a medium themselves, they lend themselves to the cyclical nature of like nothing ever gets solved. Yes, there are story arcs, there are many narrative things that happen, but you know, at the end of the day, the stories will keep going in perpetuity. Whereas with the MCU, the problem they're having to fight is that medium as a television, you know, 2 hours, tell your story, beginning, middle, end. Yes, there's like a narrative through line, but you can't, there has to always be something next going and building something new. Karen. My girl. Ah! Ah! Boy, if you don't do something, either leave or go attack them or... Hello? Frank, I need you to do something. Anything. Do anything at this point. Boy! Just dive bombing everybody. It's crazy. Ow. Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that... That's embarrassing. Hello? Okay. This is so chaotic. I was gonna say, they want to be the raid so bad. Like, so far, like, the action isn't crazy. The cuts are, yeah, whatever, but... Like, it's not terrible action sequences. Action choreo. Blocking. That's a big thing, blocking, right? Why does he have a dynamite stick? But yeah, I mean, just as soon as they started attacking the apartment building, I'm like, this feels like the raid or like an homage, you know? He has to fight his way out of the apartment building. Hello? You're gonna shotgun down there? Boy, that's way too... Okay. Just everyone falling off. Why are these people running around? Okay, and then to continue my rant from earlier, the thing I'm struggling with right now is like they're trying to make Frank in this. Okay, where do I start? I don't mind the story they're going with, like this PTSD, whatever. It's a nice incidental story. Going back to like the fact that this is the MCU and like we need growth and like new content, it feels weird to keep repeating this storyline with him. That's one of the big complaints that a lot of people are having online, is like this again. He's struggling with PTSD and, you know, the ghost of his family, and this is one last time, right? In practice, yeah, it's different this time, but it is still the similar narrative beats. But that's not even my point I was trying to make. My point that I really wanted to make was that it feels hard to root for Frank right now, because just the co-opting of his symbol, and they talked about it in season 1 of Born Again about, you know, Punisher being this cop thing. I don't know, this just feels very much like a toxic masculinity, you know, I get to run around shooting up everybody in the bad neighborhood. It's a bit of a weird thing. Like they've explained it that it's the mafia and, you know, all this shit, whatever, but it does just kind of feel like, okay, it's just the white man goes on a rampage inside of a ghetto. You know, it's maybe not the most. The story maybe should not be told in that way. That's all I'm trying to say. So if you see me kind of like roll my eyes or like, it's because of that. I just feel kind of weird about like, okay, why? Like, yeah, they're all coming after him and he's defending himself, but it's also like, okay, he's the white man. Shooting up everybody. Oh. That's it. They just got knocked out. What the hell? I guess because the fire hydrant exploded. Whatever. Fire extinguisher. You need to pick up some new weapons, Frank. Ah! Okay, you're wasting bullets here. I'm not shooting them in the head. Ah! Okay, that is... Why? What was that? I said it earlier, and like I really think the budget really went well. You know, this is very high quality. And then that, what was that? Who was that? Girl. Ow. Okay, bro. Hello. Like, do you go after her, or do you go help out? Yeah. Why are they even? He's right there. Why are you guys attacking this dude? What do you even do? Make it make sense. Why are they in here? Like, make it make sense. Everyone should... The hit was out on Frank. Why are we attacking this random donut shop? I guess just to rob it, but like, I don't know. They made it seem like it was all for his ass, right? Ah! Oh! Frank! Is that a screwdriver he got stabbed with? Is that a pen? What is happening? Okay, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. You can stop. You can stop. I can understand like going to check on them, but like also, boy, this is all because of you. You need to go. Like I don't know why you're. I get he's maybe he's died. The adrenaline. He's running low on adrenaline, right? He's. Oh God. Girl, you need to move. I get that you're. I get it, but like, girl. Felt that in my soul. You're going, Charlotte. I think what I'm struggling with is that this, like, I really do think this is a great story as like a one shot. You know, they got it right. One last kill, special presentation. That all makes sense. It really is just the translation from this should have been a comic book. It can help make everything feel better in that medium. In this live action, I don't know. I think because, like with comic books, you know, there's still images. It can help explain away like the pacing issues of like I'm just gonna sit in this moment and like feel what, you know. Obviously, you have to get through all the words and shit. So like comics time is kind of wishy-washy in that way. You know, it's like, okay, yes, this is all happening in 5 seconds, right? Even though it's happening over 5 pages, you know, all that dialogue. Whereas when it's in a TV show or in a movie like this, it's like, okay, you got to account for like things are happening around you. You know, yes, he cleaned up that shop, but then the whole fucking city is after him, right? Why did nobody else, you know, while we're having this nice heartfelt moment of like him saving the family and they're all grateful and, you know, reminding him of his own family and like this is why he does it, whatever. Fine, I can understand all that thought process, but there's still chaos going on outside, right? Why is nobody like coming in to come attack him now? It's just yeah. Are they coming to arrest him or something? Like what? They're just letting him walk. Why? This man obviously covered in blood. Ignored by the ambulance, ignored by the cops. Yeah? He gets to go back to his... Why are there so many Charlies? I thought this was going to be Matthew Lillard. Ah! Are you seriously going to attack him right now? I was wondering where we're going with this dude. I'm like, we just let him run away. I don't know. Maybe the Punisher is just not for me. You know, I really did love his Netflix shows though, like his two seasons, and then in the Daredevil season also. You know, I think season 2. Okay, sorry, it's autoplaying something else now. I did like. Oh, I should have whatever. Should have kept the video open. I liked season 2 a lot. I think people didn't like that one a lot, but I think that was a nice message in season 2 of like, I think it's a similar thing here of what keeps him going. I think about the end of that season. It's basically like, why are you fighting? Obviously there's the Billy plot line, but then his whole thing with taking care of Rachel. I don't remember her name. I don't want to say her name is Amanda, but whatever the teenage girl that falls into his lap because she's on the hunt, she's being hunted for something, right? That plot line, and then like, again, just it's not revenge as so much as justice about punishing, and I like that kind of thought. Here it felt very much like, well, I had a couple I talked about, okay, I don't even know where do I start, because like, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but again, I feel like this would have worked a lot better. It is a one shot, but I think I can get behind it morally in my head of like, I love this if it was just like in comic book form, because again, it can explain away some of the problems that come with this medium of being a TV show, movie, visual like that, movie pictures. I don't know how you want to call it. Because then we have the fact of the crime boss lady got away, whatever, fine. I get that she got away. His priority was saving the family. That's why he's fighting. I can understand from a thematic standpoint what they're doing with this thing, and I do appreciate all that stuff. The Curtis haunting him. Like I said, I do think that Billy kind of haunting him would have been better instead of having Curtis and Karen. People that he has good relationship with. But I can also see why they did that way, because the positive memories turn into bad over time, and it's souring, and it is the PTSD and everything, twisting his mental illness, twisting what's going on so in his head. So I can understand why they chose Curtis and Karen, right? I do think that having Billy or his old boss, whoever, his general, I can't remember what all the roles were, Clancy Brown, having characters like that would have been cool to have them as like the naysayers, the devil on your shoulder kind of thing. But I get what they did. I lost my train of thought as I was going on that tangent. But okay, so yeah, it's a weird way to end this whole predicament of like, we're gonna send this whole I'm the crime boss. I'm gonna send all these people after you at 6:47. Fine. He fights his way out. He goes to save the family, and then it's just over. All of a sudden, law is restored, kind of, but not really, because he's able to do this broad daylight still. The next whatever time has passed, he went to the cemetery. Like, I thought there was gonna be some sort of follow up of like, you're still not dead. I'm gonna go do it. One final boss fight or something. But no, it was just, he's fine. He got away. And so again, if this was, I'm tired of beating this dead horse, but I just want to explain fully. If this was just like a one-shot Punisher thing, and it is, that's what I'm having a hard time understanding in my head. Is like, this truly is as close to a one-shot as you can get. I mean, it literally is a one-shot special presentation, TV, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But just because it is part of the MCU and it's like a TV thing, and this is the story. If they did this more, maybe they have. I'm stupid and not watching them. But like, if this was more of a common practice to do of like, hey, here's a day in the life of X character, like I said, the thing with Bullseye, when he opened up, I think it was episode 4 of season 2. I really loved that as just like a little short story, a little vignette, a day in the life of Bullseye. Cool. I loved that. That's kind of what this felt like too. And so if they keep doing that, I'll be okay with it. But this feels very rare, because we're so used to like episodic storytelling, and like, this leads into something else and leads into something else. And this is all, there has to be like forward momentum, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Whereas this feels very much just an insular, hey, here's a day in the life. And that's not something we get a lot. Maybe it's even like in the larger scheme of TV and stuff, not just MCU, but like as a medium, I'm so used to television being like, the plot moves forward, what are they called? Filler episodes, right? People hate that term, or people don't like those kinds of things that, to watch filler in anime, for example. But that's kind of what this is in a way. It is filler because it's not necessarily progressing anything, but it kind of is because it's his mental state. It's getting him into a place of like, okay, we'll see him in Spider-Man and probably make more sense. I still didn't really get an answer where where he was during Daredevil, and where even this fucking thing is in the timeline. But I think maybe that's kind of the way to think about it, is that it is like a filler episode. It's a bottle episode. It's just a day in the life of Frank. If I can ignore everything else going around, the circumstances of the world that he's living in, where this is supposed to be New York, and if New York is run by Fisk would never really have this lawlessness. If this was pre-Fisk, maybe, but even still, that's kind of weird that the cop, I don't know. It's just, it all kind of doesn't make sense. But taking that away, yeah, I did like the thematic storytelling and, his reason for being. It was pretty obvious solution. I don't want to say solution, but, pretty obvious narrative point for where he needs to go in his character journey, and not just revenge, but just being more of like, I'm a protector, a lethal protector. But, but yeah, I do appreciate that part of it. It's just a weird, I don't know, I'm motioning to, well, first off, I didn't show off I'm pretty sure I've worn this before, my Punisher Daredevil shirt. But I have this feeling in my gut. I'm like, ugh. But maybe it's just because it's the blood and gore, and I don't know. It's just a weird. I have really mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, I really did appreciate it. I really liked it. It was, except for that one falling off the rooftop scene. It was so like high definition, really gorgeous. Cinematography, just the camera. I don't know, everything. It looked like very high quality. And it kind of made me. I don't think I said it, but I was thinking it early in the episode, like in the first 10 minutes. I was like, damn, why does this get so much budget, but Daredevil looks like that? And then I was like, well, it's because Daredevil's like a TV series, and this is just like one 45-minute thing. It's like they probably had a different budget to work with. So like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just very mixed about this. A lot of positives, but I'm also just fighting with the real world implications, I think, of like, we live in this world now, in the real life. And I don't like that the glorifying of violence in this way, without really saying anything about what, again, the co-opting of his symbol, police brutality and all that shit. They just kind of ignored that here. Violence for violence's sake, a lot of it. I don't know what I'm trying to say even, but it's just hard to think of this character in like a positive light sometimes, because he is, yes, there's, it's self-defense at the end of the day, right? He's defending himself against all these people, but it's kind of instigated by his own bloodthirst and violence and, all that shit. I'm going in circles, so I'm going to stop talking, but thanks for joining me. I'm really curious to see what other people think. I think really what I am irked by is like other people's reactions. I didn't get spoiled about anything except for that falling off the roof scene. Somebody made that into a GIF, but I had no spoilers other than that. But just the, like YouTube title of people's reactions, for example, of this episode, it was just like, this is awesome. We love this. This is what we wanted. So it really made me scared of like, I don't know. It just feels, it feels like morally I'm not in that same category. I do appreciate, again, the sort of headspace Frank is at. I liked what they were trying to tell, the storyline of him like suffering from his mental illness. Cool. I love that stuff. What I'm afraid of is like people are like, yeah, blood and violence and this combat and shooting people, and that's so cool. That kind of gives me bad vibes. And so that's where I'm like having a hard time saying that I like this, because I don't like that part. I get that it's his character. I get that, I think they did course correct him in a vacuum, making him less about, I'm going to, get revenge on anybody and I'm going to be brutal and violent. I think they are, in a weird way, they're making him more hardcore, but also less hardcore. because they are course correcting his motto and his sort of I'm gonna keep going. It's less about, you know, I'm just gonna kill everybody and anything that stands in my way. I think it's more of, you know, you've done something wrong. I'm gonna protect people, you know, the helpless, you know, the powerless. Yes, he'll still be violent. He'll still do all this shit, but it's not just to do it. You know, it's for a purpose. And so I gotta latch onto that. I don't know. Again, I'm going in circles. I can't really articulate my thoughts right now. So leave that down in the comments below. Yeah, I'm very mixed about this. I loved some of it, hated some of it. Just don't really know how to feel about it. But it was certainly shot very well. Technically very well done. It just that one rooftop scene. I don't know what happened there. But I'm going to stop talking for the last time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next something. I don't know what, but that's it for Marvel for the moment. Toss out the comments below. I'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye.